Morning. Day 167, 3 days left with students. Today, I'm going to talk about chalk and paint. Since I've been talking about coaching a little bit, first place I worked at, we had a football field that was really horrible. It looked terrible. It was mainly dirt, and it was mainly dirt because they didn't let the football coaches take care of the field, and we like to take care of our fields. We like to think of ourselves as kind of like turf farmers. We really spend a lot of time learning about how to, what kind of fertilizer, when to fertilizer, and when to use pre and post emergent. And we had all this machinery and dethatchers and aerators and tractor. We had all this stuff, to try to take in when the field was, had the sprinkler system on it and all this kind of stuff. So we wanted to keep a very nice field. But the first place I worked at, they didn't apparently care about having a nice field. All they did was let the county district personnel, take care of it, which all they did was cut it. And then they'd let everybody that wanted to play on it. Like if you wanted to go down there on the weekend and play, you could go out there and play a, football game, with all your buddies, or take your dog out there and throw the frisbee. They didn't even have a fence around it. And so it's kind of like just a big playground. The PE used it and all that kind of stuff. All the PE, the elementary school PE, middle school, high school, everybody went out there and got out. So it's pretty much just a dirt field. Now, the thing about dirt is when you're going to have a football game, you got to go out there and you got to have lines. Every 5 yards you got a line. And you can't paint dirt. All these fields you see now on TV, they're painted. The lines are painted with a paint machine and all this kind of stuff, and they look all neat and beautiful. Well, back then, you just had to get some chalk, and you would get this old chalk. If you've ever been to the Braves game, you've seen the little chalk machine, and the guy walks down through there with a chalk machine, and, real slow, it makes the line, just perfect, and it looks so good. Well, that's what we had to do to our field. But the bad thing is, some places there was actually some grass. And for you young people, you may not understand. When you go out there and you run around on a field where there's grass, it kills the grass. So a lot of younger people don't understand that because they've never been outside in the grass. They just stay indoors. But anyway, there would be a little bit of grass left on, both ends of the field. Well, you can't put chalk on the grass, so we would have to go out there and kill what was left of the grass. But you didn't want to kill all of it. You just wanted to kill the part where the line was going to be. So we would go out there and we'd get these big long strings. We'd run them from one side to the other. And, then you'd go with, you'd get a spray bottle and you'd go through there and you'd spray right along the line with diesel fuel, because diesel fuel kills grass. And you'd kill that grass right there where the line was going to be. And then you'd wait a few days and you'd come back and all the grass would be dead. Then you could take your lines and put them out there again and get your little chalk machine and go out there and hope, pray that it didn't rain or anything like that. Because if it gets wet, the chalk just, you couldn't hardly get the chalk to come out of the machine. The chalk sometimes would be in clumps. If you didn't get good chalk, it wouldn't come out good. And you'd just be barely walking along. It would take forever. I mean, think of all the lines on the football field. And the rule is, in coaching, and they tell you this when you start, don't be the last one to get here, don't be the first one to leave. So that's the rule. Don't be the last one to get here, don't be the first one to leave. So, if you are that person, you're going to have some issues, with the staff. So, that means if somebody's chalking the field, we're all chalking the field. So you'd have like a couple of the little chalk things, and you couldn't just let anybody have it. You couldn't just say, hey coach, go down there and chalk that line. Because when you're sitting up in the stands and you're looking down on the field, you don't want one little wiggly line going down. You need somebody that can do it, So the best person that could do it was the one that did it. Then everybody else, so if you had 10 people on your staff, you had, one guy or two guys painting the lines, and everybody else is trying to run the strings down there for them to paint the lines or to chalk the lines on. And then you had about 6 guys that were just standing there. So you'd have one guy kind of walking along real slow, just barely going. And then you look out there and there's 6 guys just kind of walking along, beside you. And so you'd be out there about 3 or 4 hours, just talking and having a good time while this guy chalked the field. So that was my first school. My second school I went to, they actually let us take care of the grass instead of the county people. And we did, we had it watered, fertilized. It was a beautiful grass field. And, then we had the coach, the one I told you that wanted to paint everything. If it wasn't moving, you paint it. Well, he got this idea. He was going to get a paint machine. and like they have in the NFL or something, you know. Of course, now we didn't get an NFL paint machine. We got like some jacked up paint machine from some guy that paints parking lots, you know. And so it was always tore up. It was, and they got all these little filters in them. You got to mix the paint up, and the paint has to be perfectly mixed. Like if it was lumpy in any kind of way or thick in any kind of way, it would get stuck in the strainers and all this kind of. We were always having to take it apart. And if it messed up, man, there's paint. You'd have to take it off all the way off the field into the parking lot because there would be paint everywhere when you start taking it apart. You couldn't get that on your green grass. And the bad thing about it was only one person could paint with that, and it was a big machine. And so you would have like 12 guys out there instead of 10 because we had more coaches at this place. We had 12 guys out there following one guy with one paint wand and one paint machine. And we'd just be I'll be walking around real slow with him painting, the one guy painting the line at a time. That took forever, and it never ever ceased to happen where the thing would mess up. It was always messing up. That was horrible. It would take us forever, you know. And that, you know, that was part of it. On a Thursday, you'd spend about 3 or 4 or 5 hours painting the field, depending on how many times the paint machine messed up. Then they came out with, you know, the paint cans. Like you could buy cans of paint, and they weren't as nice. Like the paint wasn't as nice as the paint from the paint machine, but they didn't tear up, you know, and you could buy a little, you know, machine to put the cans in, and they were fairly cheap. So you could buy 3 or 4 of those, but you still had the same problem. You couldn't just put that in the hands of any one of your coaches because you'd have, you know, these lines over here to be perfectly straight, and you get out here to the 50-yard line, and it's going like this, you know, because this guy can't walk straight, or he's in a hurry because he wants to go home, you know, because we've been out there 4 hours. He's in a hurry. Plus we had practice before that, you know, so he's ready to go home and get, you know, something to eat. He's going down through there as fast as he can. Every step, the line's wiggling, you know, and that kind of stuff. And you can't take the paint on. Once you put the paint on the grass, you can't take it off. And you can't paint over. I mean, it's like, you messed it up. You messed it up. It looks horrible. So there was a lot of pressure. And there's a lot of responsibility. You knew when you got to be the, you know, when you got to be the paint guy where you got to paint the line, you were up there pretty high. You were a pretty high level coach when you got the paint machine handed to you and they looked at you and they said, Coach Nichols, you paint the lines. You knew they trusted you then, so it was a big deal. And, you know, I got to paint the lines. I know, that's pretty cool. But anyway, you guys have a good day. We got 3 days left. That's all I got to say about chalk and paint.